And so there are three indicators of a life that pleases God. And I'm going to give you all three of these. And they're simple, but they're very profound. They're in this passage, obviously, verse by verse. This isn't a talk that I created. This is just verse by verse through the Bible. And the first one is this: when your life pleases God, you will be thankful. You will be thankful. Now, being thankful solves a lot of our problems in our relationships and in our hearts. And I think it's important, but I think it's also important to understand what happens when we're not thankful. And the direct correlation between the thankfulness that's talked about all throughout this book, the book of Philippians, and the verse that we're about to read in verse 14 is undeniable. Verse 14 says, "Do all things without murmurings and disputings." Now, when we murmur, when we complain, when we dispute, when we argue, what we're really doing is we are revealing that there's a lack of thankfulness in our heart. That there's a level of expectancy, there's a level of discontent in our heart that is really ultimately against God. That's why letter A says that thankfulness praises God, but complaining blames God. All of our murmurings and complainings really are saying that, God, if you were good, this wouldn't have happened. And all of our complainings against others are really a complaint that God either had made them that way or God allowed them to do those things. And so all of our complaining ultimately finds its way back to God. Now, the word murmurings is all throughout the Bible. It's from gaguzo, which means to mutter under one's breath. And it's to give quiet dissent. It's negative, but it means to whisper a grievance to another, to grumble and gossip, to have a secret displeasure in something or someone, and to complain behind their back. And a lot of times we think of complaining and grumbling like, well, everyone does that. I mean, who doesn't, right? I mean, everyone has a complaint. Everyone says a complaint. Everyone gossips. And we look at this as like, kind of like a petty little white sin. Like, well, I mean, there's some big sins, Pastor, but this one's not that big. And then when we step back and we realize how God views it, we realize, oh, wait a second, maybe something that we thought wasn't that dangerous is actually pretty dangerous. Now, I don't know how you feel about escalators, but I'm scared to death of escalators. And I'm not too proud to admit it. I'm a grown man, okay? And every time I kind of step on or step off, I'm a little bit cautious. I don't know if the next video is real. But this is a video of someone who lost her shoes at the bottom, and by the time her high heels got to the top, this is what happened. They rode to the top, no problems, until it catches the front of that shoe and just kind of eats it right up. Second one, doing fine until it catches the heel. Same thing, just kind of eats it right up. Now, some of you, I just unlocked a new fear, okay? And every time you get to an escalator, you're going to step a little bit higher than you had before. The reason why I wanted to use that as an illustration is I hope that the next time you go to complain, which will be right after the service about the message, or the next time you want to whisper a grievance to someone who cannot help the problem, which, by the way, complaining rarely solves the problem, I hope that you'll step back and say, well, maybe that's not the best thing for my heart or this relationship. Maybe my murmuring displeases God, and maybe it's ultimately against God.